Like so many people in the world, I knew what child marriage is, but not much more. But then I started looking a bit into the issue, and I had no clue how enormously big this problem is.
Child marriage violates her rights to a life free of violence and a life of choice. It deprives her of her childhood. By addressing child marriage, we are protecting universal human rights.
If you tackle child marriage, you are looking at the cause of maternal and child deaths, you are looking at the cause of diminishing developmental activities in the country, you are looking at the cause of gender-based violence, you are looking at the cause of sexual and reproductive health issues.
This is the issue all over the world. So if we want to stop child marriage, then we need to work in a movement. We need a kind of campaign from everywhere.
We provide a platform for these different organizations that are doing this amazing work on the ground to learn from each other, to share experiences with each other, and actually do their work better.
These partnerships help us learn what is actually working in India, how can we replicate it in Afghanistan, how can we replicate it in Bangladesh and Nepal. One organization cannot make much more difference, but when 10 organizations come together, they are more powerful.
The goal of Girls Not Brides is very simple. We want to end child marriage in one generation.
All of us together, as a collective entity, will solve this problem.
I am as committed to ending child marriage as I was committed to ending apartheid. And we will have a wonderful world when we have women who have been able to become anything they want to become.
I dropped out of school because of different challenges, and during that period, I got pregnant at a very young age. Society and friends rejected me.
The broken innocence of a child bearing a child and walking through the journey of parenting shifts the right of a girl child enjoying their childhood, most especially with the glaring magnitude of the responsibilities. Statistics on teenage pregnancies in Africa are alarming. Sub-Saharan Africa in particular is reported to have the highest number with over 90% of teen pregnancies. An estimated 21 million girls aged 15 to 19 years in developing regions become pregnant, and approximately 12 million of them give birth.
Teenage pregnancy is a challenge that has lived with us for quite some time, but in the recent past, it has been a challenge that is so alarming. Well, to say it's unfortunate, to see what our girls are going through, with a very big number of them forced to drop out of school, but also many of them losing their lives, others getting, so disadvantaged in the community because of the situation.
Entered into a relationship totally disregarding parental advice because I wanted to have access to some basic needs that were lacking in my parents' house. But after falling pregnant, I realized my parents wished me well because the problems just got worse.
Les principales causes chez les filles adolescentes, c'est à cause des mauvaises compagnies. Genre, comme je suis comme une autre fille, elle s'habille mal et puis elle gagne l'argent. Toi aussi, tu veux imiter pour faire. Si tu fais et puis tu te protèges pas, genre, tu fais des rapports sexuels sans te protéger, tu tombes enceinte et puis ça devient des grossesses indésirées. Si l'homme dit qu'il veut pas, donc à toi le problème maintenant, tu sais pas quoi faire.
The rate at which our girls are becoming mothers is alarming. It is worrying. Many girls have been dropped out of school because of the same problem. The challenge is quite significant. It has been a challenge for a while. Actually, we have grappled with it for a long time.
Many of the girls in Africa come from the rural area. They are from socio-economic, and because of that, many of them are lured into situations that lead to pregnancies. If I can mention the girls that are going to school, they are going to school, they don't have the basic requirements, they are not sure of the next meal after school, and because of that, those that have, and these are mainly men, take advantage of them, and they end up into pregnancies in the process. Not that they really want it, but conditions push them into that.
It is sad and heartbreaking that most girls are not in a position to bring sound upbringing to the child. The innocence of these young girls has been violated, swaying up mental health issues. The high rate of adolescent pregnancies is due primarily to the inaccessibility of services such as lack of sexual reproductive health, education among teenagers, lack of safe spaces, poverty, illiteracy, socio-cultural norms, and traditions.
The importance of children learning about sexual and reproductive health is twofold. First, for their own self. For their own self, it enables them understanding how their own body functions. And also as far as social relations are concerned, on how to relate with a partner. It empowers them in having knowledge, in having a bargaining power with a future or actual partner.
Here in Sudan, we have some norms of cultural practices. So if someone gets pregnant out of wedlock, then she might encounter some punishment, as it's considered she has gone out of the law or family practices, and she might encounter abort through herself or her mother or father. COVID-19 has somehow worsened the situation, especially with closure of schools and lockdown measures implemented to curb the spread of the virus in the continent. Reports indicate a surge in child marriages, sexual-based violence, teenage pregnancies, and cases related to female genital.
Before the breakout, if you have it, this is a good time before you give us a report back. But your room one was talking about initiatives. What types of initiatives are currently addressing child marriage and FGM in tandem in Kenya? What initiatives are addressing child marriage and FGM in tandem in Kenya? So exploring what are the factors contributing to success, what sort of challenges do they face? Are there any other kinds of initiatives with potential to address both? Natalie, are you ready? Natalie?
Hello. I just typed in the chat box that we needed a minute, but it's sorted out. Thank you so much to our incredible team from Total News who are helping. Yeah, so thank you. My name is Natalie Roby. I'm very honored to be joining this forum today. I work with Msichana Empowerment Kuria. I'm the executive director down here in Kuria. So I didn't, just like Viola, I didn't have a presentation, but mine would be based on several stories to talk about the various types of initiatives that are currently addressing child marriage and FGM. So, and I think my first reflection would be of a meeting I had with a girl last year at a police station here in Kuria at Kehancha. And when I met her, there had been, it was after the police had done a raid and she was arrested with other 4 girls. And they're in the police cell for quite some time because in Migori County, there's no safe shelter. And when girls are cut, they're kept in the police cell, waiting to be arraigned in court. So I and another colleague of mine who is a nurse have been visiting them in the police cell to be able to clean their wounds and to provide for them food. So when we're engaging one of the girls, the one thing she told me is that, you know, madam, the reason why I had to get cut is because I didn't know where to run to. That was one. And number 2 was because that she lives with her grandmother and her younger sister, and she needed to get cut so that her younger sister could run away. And unfortunately, she already knew who her grandmother had arranged to marry her. So already for her, the one thing that she was afraid of is that it was either her or her younger sister, and she was afraid that if she didn't undergo the cut and later on give up herself for marriage, then it would mean that they would sleep hungry because none of the relatives wanted to take care of them. But the funny thing is that the relatives were ready to slaughter a goat for her to come back. So by the time the police were raiding, they were actually feasting. They were drinking busara. Busara is the festive drink. So that already in itself shows us that the kind of power that girls have, the kind of power that girls are able to, we know what girls are able to do on behalf of their communities. And that's why, particularly for us as Msichana Empowerment Kuria, and I believe many other organizations, even within the Girls Not Brides, that are really focused on amplifying the voices of girls, are trying to tell us all. So what does that tell us? Is that when girls are provided opportunities to have access to information, where particularly within Msichana Empowerment Kuria, we have programs that are focused on providing safe spaces for girls to, and these safe spaces are based in the villages. Girls can come in, they have access to information, they have access to support systems. So what then happens beyond that is now for us to be able to strengthen some of these platforms, because it's not enough to just provide information, but what happens beyond information sharing? What happens when the referrals are done? What happens when girls are running out of homes and they don't know how to go back? And that then brings us to the various challenges. Oh, sorry, just before I go forward, I would like to highlight another program that I'm really, really passionate about. And I think some of the young people in the room can attest to what we are already doing with the Accelerator Approach project by Girls Not Brides. I think, first of all, the reason why I'm really, really passionate about this program, it's really putting young people at the center. They're able to lead dialogues within the community. It is not we, the people who are running organizations, who are coming and hosting the forums. It's the young people who are having conversations with the community. And really the conversation are based on how can we as communities begin to change our mindset and to support the children. So within the Accelerator Approach project, it's really focused on enabling the various systems in the community. And particularly, I'm very happy, and massive congratulations to Girls Not Brides for allowing the program to have an intersectionality between FGM and child marriage. So we are certain that as the program goes through, what we are seeing already is that we are seeing Council of Elders making commitments with young people to work together to address FGM. And this cuts across the queer community in Kenya and Tanzania. But if I would like highlight some of the challenges that we are seeing, of course, it's based on particularly in some areas we have still not reached, in the sense that some areas are too remote. There's still a lot that needs to happen. In the queer community, FGM happens seasonally. So you find like last year, it was 2 clans that were subjecting girls to FGM, and now most of those girls are the ones who are getting married. So this time around it will be a different clan, and then next year, then these girls would be the ones being subjected to FGM. So you find that now when we're having conversations in a clan that already cut their girls, they'll tell you, no, we finished, you go talk to the ones who are going to cut their girls. So it's really just based on the key challenges we are seeing. It's based on the community's ways of life, which we've also seen that it doesn't take one day to change. And if you could allow me, Madam Mildred, I would love to just go ahead and present on what was discussed in the group. And then if there are any questions or concerns, I'll be able to take them up. So in terms of the various initiatives that were highlighted in Group 1, and thank you all who are part of Group 1, we had policy initiatives and laws like the 100% transition in Kenya, which is really supporting girls, particularly in communities or regions that are affected by FGM, to be able to be in school. And if a girl is missing from school because she's been cut and she's supposed to be healing for quite some time, then hopefully the chiefs and the wazee wa nyumba kumi can quickly find her. We have laws, and we have the anti-FGM law in Kenya that has been able to be a backbone for so many girls, so that if a girl is running away, then she has something that will be able to support her. And then the Children's Act that then supports girls to be free from child marriage. In terms of the programmatic work, we have seen work that was happening with the adolescents, and we have seen that where girls are supported either to access education or have access to economic opportunities, then there's a decrease in FGM and child marriage. And then there was a highlight on the youth movement within Kenya, where young people are leading campaigns in their communities. They are mobilizing the elders, the children, they're influencing laws and policies as well. And that is really contributing to both FGM and child marriage. And then another thing also we are seeing, and had been highlighted by Madam CEO, was on the government's deliberate effort to be able to put structures within the various systems right at the county level. So the county steering committees that are now being set up to be able to coordinate work. And we hope that in some cases they're addressing child marriage as well. And we hope that then they're going to be supported to become more effective. As I come into a conclusion, one of the things we have seen, or something that was similar in all the conversations, is that access to education, particularly girls' education, in the initial years of primary, really contributes to address FGM and child marriage. It keeps girls safe for up to about 10 years. as they transition. And most importantly, now an emphasis in secondary school education, because by then we'll be able to really ensure that girls within the education system and even girls who have fallen out are still supported. Thank you all so much, and we welcome your questions, your concerns, and contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Natalie. Please just allow me to say this, that I appreciate and affirm your articulation of the actual situation in your environment, but also celebrate your intervention and your bravery. I feel that you and your team are extremely brave to just take on these issues head on. And, nobody wants to face the police about this kind of thing. Nobody wants to face a community that is hell-bent on a retrogressive practice. Nobody wants to, but you have articulated it so powerfully, and I affirm you, because this is the leadership we want. And this is really what I feel and I truly believe is transformative as we endeavor to end FGM and child marriage. So please, thank you, and continue connecting those dots the way you have connected those dots, because it is important we do it so that we are able to get to the core when we are saying it is zero. It is zero FGM in Kuria district. It's zero child marriage. So once again, congratulations to you and Msichana Empowerment Kuria and the team around you that you're working with. You are doing great work. I now would like to welcome the
Detroit, are you there?
Hello?
Now we can hear you.
Sorry, now you can hear me. Sorry. Okay. So I would like to welcome Room 2, Group 2, that is Jane Anyango of Polycom Development Project. One of the things that stands out for me for Polycom Development Project, working in Nairobi's Kibera area, but not only in Kibera, but beyond the borders, is Polycom's ability to localize the issue of child marriage in a way that brings out the broader perspective that child marriage is not only in the rural area, but quite rampant and vast in the urban area. I want to affirm Polycom Development Project for the innovation that I truly believe was a groundbreaking innovation called the talking boxes. When society does not allow children the space and the liberty to speak the truth about what's happening to them, Polycom invented talking boxes so that children can speak through them. Jane, I welcome you to speak briefly about your initiatives within Polycom, but also to report back to us on what Room 2 has discussed on what are the drivers of FGM and child marriage in the Kenyan context and how they are related. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you so much, Mildred. And just as Mildred mentioned, we are based in Kibera, and we have this project, we call it the talking boxes, where we install boxes, locked up boxes in schools. And we encourage kids to share whatever they want to share. And this is how we've been able to get so many cases of FGM. I know many people think that it doesn't happen in the urban settlements, but you know, we are Kenyans. If it's happening in my community and I move into the urban settlement, like, is that a reason enough for me to stop doing it? So we have received so many cases of FGM. In fact, it is not the girls complaining. It is written like Nilitairi. So this year we are privileged to have a champion who is actually leading this process, leading the campaign. She's able to go into the schools and do we call them Jipende assemblies, where the girls are all called together and then encouraged to use the talking boxes. And she's able to share so much about, she's able to share her story and even get the girls to have a lot of conversations. And right now she's trying to convince us to hold just forums for girls who have who are coming from communities that practice FGM, because it is also very, very silent in the slums. Meaning we are dealing with people who understand that it is wrong, but they're still doing it, and that is when it's more dangerous. So the people who respond to our contents are young women. We call them mentors. So these are the big sisters to the girls in schools. So they're able to organize forums based on the contents that they collect. And so we are able to talk about everything. And when it comes to child marriage, yes, we have a lot of child marriage in Kibera. Just the way we have a lot of, can I call it teenage pregnancy? Because the moment they are pregnant and the environment does not allow them to stay there with their babies, they do as much as possible to go to their, can I call it baby daddies? Because that is how you call them in Kenya. So just recently we rescued a 16-year-old who still insists that she must stay with that man, and the man is even married to another woman. So I know that is bringing so many questions, but that is story for another day. So yes, we have FGM in Kibera, and we are giving girls the platform to be able to share. And we have real facts on how to respond to the issues affecting the girls. So I'll go to our group 2. So in group 2, we were talking about the drivers of FGM and child marriage in Kenyan context and how they are related. And listening to girls, I'm happy that we listened to a story from a girl who went through FGM. And she says in her community, it has nothing to do with marriage. It has nothing to do with initiation into adulthood. It is just FGM. It is just about pleasing the ancestors and getting your parents to be proud. So what we got that that was cutting across all these community, like what was related in all these conversations, just about culture, just simple culture. And we are all talking about modernization. So we had a lot of conversation. We had someone who talked to us from Pokot, from Samburu, and all that was coming out that was so common is culture. Then we talked about like how do we come together to tackle, how do we come up with a common approach to tackle these drivers? And we talked about getting everybody educated, everybody. In fact, someone mentioned that mostly in the conversations, we always talk to the elders and we leave women out, the elders and the men, and we leave women out. And now we are supposed to bring women together, and it's also important to get the women who are the circumcisers to get another way of making money, because most of them do it because they are making money out of it. And it's also good to have, can I call it universal education? Because you cannot talk about keeping girls from getting married without taking them to school. Because most of this community, because most of these grassroots, girls from the grassroots do not really have money to pay for their education. So they prepare themselves for marriage. I think this is something that we can really shout about in this country. Can we get girls to be able to access education, not just the verbal one that we talk about every day? We also talk about getting the communities to understand what is contained in the anti-FGM law, getting the people to really understand what they're trying to challenge and what is protecting them. So this one came out very strongly that we have beautiful laws, but somehow people don't really understand them. So it's good for people to get to understand the law, because before they break the law and get themselves behind bars. And then another thing that we talked about, and I think it had been mentioned earlier, is that we should engage the young people in the advocacy. We are not giving the young people the chances. I think someone from Migori mentioned it earlier, where we have all these boards, but we don't have the young people represented. And I listened to the voice of this young girl who is talking about being cut when she was still very young, and she still doesn't understand why. And in her community, they don't even have a reason why they cut girls; they just cut them. And then I'm like, what if we are able to have these powerful voices of young people in those boards, in all these committees that we have out there, so that you have people that these young people are able to relate with, the girls who are preparing themselves for FGM, are able to listen to the girls who are still very close to them, who just went through or who have been able to, can I say, to evade the vice. So these are some of the things that came up. I think that is all. And then we also say that, you cannot just speak about one thing, you must bring everything together. And we felt that we should bring early marriage into the conversation as well. Thank you. That is all from me. And if I left out anything, guys, please, you can add on. And thank you very much for the beautiful contribution.
Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you very much. We appreciate that very much. What you have talked about in terms of talking boxes was actually, like I say, a very land-breaking approach to getting the voices of our girls heard in situations where they have been stifled. I think it is something that can be replicated across the entire country and the continent, because how Polycom does this, I've had the experience of seeing it, is planting boxes in specific areas in schools where girls can sneak in and throw in their lamentations, their complaints, their issues in those boxes, which later on Jane and her team are able to take it. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. So our last group, last but not least, is group 3. And group 3, Dr. Josephine Kulea, Samburu Girls Foundation. You know, Dr. Josephine Kulea, every time I see you scaling new heights, I smile to myself, because I interacted with you many years back when we had not achieved so much, but you were so focused. You were so focused on where you wanted to go with ending FGM and child marriage that I get so amazed at just how focused you are up to this time. I congratulate you and I affirm you for all that you have been doing and what you have achieved. And so please come in now, representing group 3 on what unintended consequences are common in programs that address child marriage and FGM in tandem. How can this be overcome? But first of all, please just tell us a little bit more about Samburu Girls Foundation. Welcome, Dr. Josephine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Josephine Kule. I'm the founder of the Samburu Girls Foundation. Actually, sorry, we're in the field. I'm seated in a chief's office. I've hijacked his office. So, yeah, so, yes, so we are a child protection organization. We rescue girls from 3 things, mainly child marriage, female genital mutilation, and what we call beading. In Samburu County, FGM is, as they say, as the statistics stand, which we don't believe, they say 86%. We hope that the government comes back faster and does more statistics for them to update the state statistics, because we don't believe all these years nothing has changed since 2014. Anyway, our work, we are celebrating 10 years this year. We're actually marking 10 years of rescuing girls, providing safety and shelter, taking them through school. We literally rescue those kids, enroll them to schools from preschool and work with them until they complete colleges or universities. So we even have girls who are now working. And those are the things we're going to celebrate in October 11th on International Day of the Girl Child. So we welcome everyone on board. What we've been doing, you know, we always say action speaks louder than words. So yeah, that's what Samburu Girls does in a nutshell. I don't take much of the time. I know we are behind time, but our dream, of course, is to have our own school, because currently the girls go away to boarding schools and it's very expensive. So we hope to get our own school in future. We are on 15 acres of land and we've only occupied almost 5. So we have 10 more to look for funding and build a school. So I was in an impressive group of amazing people with great ideas. Even time was not enough for us. We had so much to bring on board. But we had a secretary, Millicent. I don't know if you have uploaded what we discussed, because I don't know if you're able to share your screen. Because if not, I can just peruse through the points we wrote. Because I tried to.
Let me see if Total News is able to upload that. Are you able to upload Dr. Josephine's presentation?
From who? From Millicent. Millicent has not sent me.
Okay, then maybe Dr. Josephine, you just go through it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. For the sake of time, we'll just peruse through. I know she had captured it in detail. She was our secretary, but so our question was on the unintended consequences that are common in our programs on FGM and child marriage together, and how we can overcome them. So basically what we were discussing, we started with the consequences and then we'll go to the how to overcome some of them. So one of our issues that came up was the donor-driven agenda. We find that donors just want to fund what they want to achieve. So at the end of the day, the community-driven projects are not addressed, because when you get funding addressing a specific outreach for a specific thing, then we end up pleasing the donor but not achieving an agenda for the community. Another consequence is there's been more funding going to FGM programming and less to child marriage programming. And that's in the donor world where we see that people focus more attention on funding FGM activities, but not child marriage. The other consequence we've seen is during the COVID-19 and other calamities, we had accelerated child marriage and female genital practices going on because the schools were closed, children were at home, there were no, kids could not go anywhere because even the shelters were closed. So that consequence happened, and we still have kids who became teenage mothers during that and have not even resumed schools. Another consequence was that was raised was there's less funding going to safe spaces, because when the children are rescued, even as you hear, some counties don't even have safe spaces. Like for us, we are housing kids from 4 counties. That's just one example. You had when Robbie was presenting from Korea, they don't even have a safe space. Kids stay at the police station, which is very wrong. So the funding is not actually even allocated to any safe space by the government. And that's where there's a challenge. So there's needed money that is intended to go straight to those safe spaces, because that's where these kids go, because homes are not secure or safe at that moment. Then there is short-term funding for projects, because the issue of projects is when you do a project, for example, you target to end FGM, you can't say I'll end FGM in 2022, but then the funding you have is for 3 months or 6 months. So short-term funding, people apply grants, they get like a 6 months grant, but your work is ongoing. So maybe what would have been done was increase that funding and also work with the people and also get sustainable projects. Then there was, I've already mentioned the issue of calamities, but others included clashes, wars, even in other countries. Like in Samburu here, there's been a lot of drought, even now as we speak, and most kids have not been able to go to school, and so girls got married. They are there. Sorry, I hope you can see them on your screens. Yes, so that's, I think we are in the second last. Then there's lack of coordination among players in FGM and child marriage programming. I think that one was discussed also during the earlier presentation. Then from there, we kindly move to the how to overcome. Yes. So how to overcome? We can see that one, we have the community-driven agenda, where we say donors should fund what communities need. If my community says educating a girl to school makes the girl safe, is like our choice of intervention, then I would suggest that that's what the donor does, so that they did not come and tell me, no, you talk to the community, do the outreach, but no, you're not helping the girls. So I would rather we choose the community-driven agenda. Then undertaking proposals as a consortium, as opposed to individual organization. Yes, this will help us, especially the grassroots organization, because we've always had the challenge of applying for big grants, where donor tells you, you're a small organization, our money is big, so they give the bigger international NGOs who now come to the ground, either employ people or they decide to work themselves, or also choose people they want to work with. So I believe if CSOs at the grassroots levels could be brought together who are doing the same work and granted as a consortium, then it would be easier for people, because as Loloji mentioned in the morning, the hard work is at the grassroots level. Then commitments by local administration, where we have the chiefs, for example, seated in this chief's officer, but I'm very proud Vijata promotion is going to be a DO, and we've worked closely with him on children matters position. But commitment here means we have chiefs who are working hand in hand with these communities to even harm those children. We've had a chief arrested here in Samburu for marrying himself an 11-year-old child. So if the chiefs are the ones who are supposed to keep the law, then if we break the law, who are we going to run to? So we also have the engaging the local administrators from different communities. Like what the national government does, they bring us the DOs or the county commissioners from other communities, and it's very easy to work with them because they won't side with anybody. I hope, I would wish even the chiefs would start being rotated across the country so that they don't favor their families when they do mistakes, because that's what we've witnessed. Then we have intergenerational dialogues. This is where we would want the people who've been in this game for longer to take up other people and mentor them, like the upcoming youth organizations and other stuff, and be role modeling. And also if a project that knows that you're here for 5 years and you've achieved, why don't you mold another younger CBO coming up so that as they move out of the project or they leave the local organizations running and they have people to fall back to. Then governments to upscale the GVRCs and safe houses. It's very important to have a safe house. We're not advocating for children to be institutions, but we are saying a safe space is very important because those girls need that space when they're on the run. Like our center has been a transition home for many girls, and it's been wonderful for the last 10 years to see girls just coming in, reconcile them to their families, go to school, graduate, and now some are even working. Counties to domesticate policies, ensuring that they have implementation matrices, yes. It was mentioned, Kajiado County has an FGM policy. I am hoping that they're funding it and supporting people working around FGM. I don't know about that, but I hope our 22 hotspot counties in Kenya would pick that up, run with it, and we get even funding from those counties to support FGM work and child marriage, because most counties are not supporting FGM and child marriage work, even funding it, including ours. I'm not afraid to say, I wish they were seated in this meeting, they would hear it. Mobile courts, yes, like during Corona, there was no case going on. So even these kind of meetings or court cases were not brought up. So many cases were missed out, especially for the child rescue cases. And so many girls' cases were not followed up during. So mobile courts would be an advantage, because at the end of the day, if you're having 2 people in court who are being arrested and 1 girl is confessing or 2 more, then it will still be a good space for people who can mask and do the court cases continue. Otherwise, this one, the courts were affected by Corona and cases were not followed up. Then the constitution and training of court users committees. We have the court users committees. These are committees that follow up such cases that are being addressed in courts, and some of them are just recycled offices that people do not even know what their job is, and maybe these might not even be court users, but all other offices of the government that are dealing directly with these children. They need to be retrained, just to be reminded of what they need to do, refresher courses, because some of them are still living in the old thinking, and they need to keep up with the current affairs. Then operationalization of committees. Yes, there are so many committees, including the Nyumba Kumis by the government and other things. And some of them you find, like the Nyumba Kumi, where I come from, they're only in charge of the local brews and maybe theft within the village. But the issues of FGM, which is happening under their noses, they're not being reported, or even child marriages. So these are the committees that we need to use, and also make sure that they also approach everything that around that community that is happening, they should also address. Then lastly, there was a point on government scholarships to survivors, and we've had a challenge with the Children Office. There is a specific grant that goes to the Children Office. It's called Orphans and Vulnerable Children, OVC. But when it comes to OVC, they concentrate on the word orphan. But you remember, these girls who we are rescuing and housing are vulnerable. So the vulnerable part of the child does not occur in the current government scholarship fund for the OVC. So they take up the orphans, they leave out the vulnerable. So we end up having survivors from who are rescued from these issues who are not getting government support just because they don't fit into the OVC government description. So I think there should be a specific and a special way to identify these children. I think one of our participants, Helen, even raised, like, they should have a special number, like a NEMIS, like all rescued girls in the last so many years should have had the numbers. They come in per county, this is your number, and by now they would have been tracked and know where they are, and even be able to get those success stories. So I think that is what our team discussed, and unless there's anything I've left out, a member of the team could add, but thank you so much. And this is an amazing forum with GNB, and I hope that some of the way forwards that have been brought up here will be followed through, because these children need a lot of support. Apart from saving them and housing them and educating them, they need to be, those organizations and the safe spaces and every other partner doing the great work need to be supported. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Josephine Kulea. Thank you. And I hope everybody is joining me in appreciating how much Dr. Kulea and the team down in Samburu are in touch with the community and understand those issues, because that is really what we need. Now, I know we are actually strained of time because we are 25 minutes late, but I want to very quickly just read some suggestions, some comments from the chat as we think through. Nerida, thank you for very informative presentation. Girls Not Bride has a brief on working with religious leaders to address child marriage. Oh, thank you, Nerida, for giving us that link. It's very important. I want to read that from Millicent Nyabwari. You say we need to inform the society that we are no longer objects that need to be sexually mutilated in order to please the obnoxious culture that forcefully choose what a woman should do. It's high time we sit down and shift the dynamics. I personally went through FGM and I feel like it's not right. There is something lacking inside. Kindly let's join hands to rescue the younger generation that is at risk of FGM. Thank you for sharing that, Millicent. Claudia Mashuki, you say we need to see people who have gone through FGM at the board, because they are the ones who understand what it feels like to go through it, giving them an opportunity to advocate against FGM, thus reducing trauma and stigmatization. Thanks a lot for this conference. It's a very big help to us, young girls and women. Yeah, that is quite true there. I think we have been able to get very good responses and very interactive responses there. I want to take us back to all of us, to the gallery, where we are all at after a long day of having discussions that are important. If you could, with your permission, we still have tomorrow. I know there are still burning questions and contributions, but when we look at the time, it is totally against us. And so we are going to bring this discussion, with your permission, to a close and ask that groups give what your groups have presented. Please hand them over to Girls Not Brides, because the rapporteurs need to have them together. And as you do that, may I just come back to you again and remind you about 1 minute, 23 girls. 1 minute, within 1 minute globally, we lose 23 girls every minute. Now, the last time we stopped was at 10:55. It was at 10:55. My mathematicians with calculators or with maths in their heads, we are stopping now at 16:27, at 16:28, at 16:28. Every minute, so 16:28 should be like over 6 hours later. Please do the calculations. We are stopping at 16:28. I'll mark it at 16:28. Every minute we lose 23 girls. How many girls are those? It is important for us to put into perspective the intensity of the situation, just how serious, how critical it is for us to invoke those numbers, because sometimes maybe we don't see it and we don't understand the intensity of just how it is without the numbers. So, my mathematicians in the room, okay, I'm told that is 8280 girls. We have not joined with the others. I'll take 8280 from Grace Ambira and Millicent Ondingo, both of you 8280. I'll take that and continue. With your permission, Girls Not Brides, I would like to bring the meeting to a close, but of course, with handing over the microphone to Nolene ahead of preparations for tomorrow's meeting. Helen, because I have been requested to actually stop at exactly 4:30, which is 4:30. I plead that tomorrow when we start off, Helen, is that okay? If it's not okay, switch on your camera and let me know. Okay. Okay, Nolene, I know it's, yes, Helen. You are muted, Helen. You are muted.
I just wanted to observe when you're taking notes that we also have insurgents of all retrogressive, the cultures, the communities that had left out or abandoned this vice have come back, like your Gikuyu. So that is unintended consequences within the practice that we are having. And it's very, very important to be documented. We are seeing that we were referring to Gikuyu, they abandoned, but now they are back through the regrouping of Wazee, calling themselves Kiama Kiama.
Oh, God.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for actually pointing that out. Very important point to note there. Very important. Thank you, Helen. So with this, I want to hand over to Nolene as we prepare for tomorrow morning. And please let us know exactly what time we start out and all that. But for now, I want to thank all of you. I clap for you as the moderator today. You've been an amazing team. Thank you, Migori, for staying focused. Thank you, Nairobi, for also staying focused, and for everybody joining from all other spots across the globe. Thank you. It's important that we've had this conversation. Nolene, over to you. Mildred. Thank you, Nolene. Did you say 9 a.m. or 8:45? Sorry, we can't hear you, Nolene. You're muted, Nolene. 9 or 8:45? Is it 9 or 8:45? I think there's something wrong with your mic. Nine. Okay. 9, right? Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.